Okay, we are in Atlas of the Heart, the book that is written by Brene Brown. Really well written, well researched. If you don't have a copy, that is okay. But everything, for the most part, that we're doing in this lecture series is based on this book. Like I said, if you've watched the overview or the first one, there are some things that are me, but like 90% of this is just me recapping what I think is so important for good authentic identity, for good leadership, for good emotional awareness and regulation. Like the language that she provides for the emotions that everybody feels is chef's kiss. Okay. And I'm sure you're not new here, but I'm Dr. Michelinaaichele and I specialize in identity and leadership. And so I am always focused on mindset work, self-awareness, emotional awareness, emotional and self-regulation, like all the things that go into knowing who you are in yourself and how to lead out of that space. Okay, so where we go when we compare. Now, you just want to settle in your mind that yes, you do compare. Okay, you do compare yourself to everyone else. And social media has made this an extremely prevalent thing. We almost do it on autopilot. We kind of can't help it. Okay. So when we are in comparison, which is often until you're not anymore, here are some of the places that we go, right? And if you remember from our overview, we have comparison, we have admiration, we have reverence, we have envy, we have jealousy, we have resentment, we have Schadenfreude and Freudenfreude, which we're going to talk about today. Okay, so that's our the scope of what she talks about, and so that is what we are going to focus on. So comparison, quite frankly, is on one side feeling like you need to conform, and on the other side, you feel like you're in competition with the world, right? And it's this idea that, again, I'm quoting her, be like everyone else, but better. It's like you look around at all the people who are in your sort of quote unquote peer group, and you're like, what are they doing and how can I do it better? And I will just say that not doing what everyone else is doing is a very hard thing. And I think now I'm 37. I keep seeing this where people are like, if I'm in my upper 30s, early 40s, everybody's just in such a different place in life. Some people are married for 10 years with like 10-year-old kids. Some are divorced. Some have started new careers. Some have been working their way up the corporate ladder in their career for the last 15 years. Some are still living the bachelorette life, right? Like there's just so many things that are different. And a lot of the times that's kind of shocking because we are expected to do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And so we're comparing, like, is it normal for me to be doing what I'm doing when I'm doing it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So comparison is something that we kind of naturally do because we're constantly externally focused. And like one of the big things, the nature of my work, for those of you who are familiar with it, is always to be the sort of mirror that has you focus inward, right? Because at the end of the day, the only thing you can control, really focus on is you, right? Like you can't give more than you have. You can't connect deeper than you've connected with yourself. You can't look to someone else to figure out what you're supposed to do. Not actually. Right. And I was looking at something as far as authenticity and comparison the other day, and it was talking about how, if you have on your heart to do culinary school and your family wants you to take over the family business, the comparison there is also a people pleasing. It's like, oh, well, they want me to do this, and my other sibling did this, and now I need to do this, but I don't really want to do this, right? There's a reason why comparison is the thief of joy. People pleasing and expectation also the thief of joy. And the research demonstrates, not shockingly, that when we compare ourselves, it only correlates to sort of negative things. It leads to fear, it leads to anger, leads to shame, and it leads to being sad. And so, of course, it does. If I a 5'3", curvy, athletic build, brunette. Look at somebody who is a 5'11", blonde, thin model of and I think that's the standard of beauty. What I'm saying about myself is that I'm ugly because I'm not like that. And there's space, which again, society does not propagate, but I will propagate for you and myself. There's space for both of us to be beautiful, right? The 5'11" girl and the 5'3" girl, the thin model and the curvy athletic one, right? Like there's beauty in both of those things. That is not what the people are taught. The people are taught either or, this person's better than you. And so we get into this sort of inferiority when we're in comparison. And what the goal is instead of looking, I'm going to use my metaphorical 5'11" blonde girl, right? Instead of being like, oh my God, like, look at her. She's so much better than me. She's so much prettier than me. She's, taller than me. She's thinner than me. She's just standard of beauty, right? Instead of that, when I come across her, queen, girl, that hair, your tallness, you're gorgeous, right? Like I'm not upset, not offended at the fact that God made me this way and God made her that way. There's plenty of difficulties coming with being so beautiful, you know? You use those moments to connect and genuinely mean it. When you're secure in yourself, you're not worried about comparison. You're not like, oh, she's so much more attractive than me. You're like, girl, you are so much more attractive than I am. Like, I have a crush on you. Dang. Right? Like, you're not upset. Like, you can objectively say, like, wow, you are stunning. That doesn't mean I'm not stunning. This is why comparison is so dangerous. And the goal is to use those moments to connect, right? And especially I think when it comes to the physical standards of like beauty, of masculinity, strength, tallness, it is more of a comparison game than a connection game. Fewer people are going to like say, "Ooh, girl, that outfit is working on you." Than like, does her outfit look better than mine? The energy is just, I hope you can feel it even from where you're at. The energy of the connection is expansive. The energy of the comparison is very diminishing, right? And so we can, and we're going to talk about this because the research shows this. Brene is talking about, Dr. Brown's talking about this. Brene and we're not friends, okay? I don't know Brene, okay? Dr. Brown, let me be a professional here. You can come at it in admiration and reverence, such as I did in my metaphorical blonde girl. Or you can come at it in envy and jealousy. She's got something I don't, and it makes me feel less than. And I'm going to always say the better option is security and authenticity. When you know who you are, it is so much easier not to feel insecure. When you make peace with yourself, you just have self-acceptance. It will be so much easier for you not to get upset when someone else has something that you do not. Man, woman, money, job, house, kids, car, profession, you name it. When you get good at being authentic, this is the goal, this is the thing. When you're so confident in who you are, what you got, what you're doing, where you're going, you're not subject to, oh, look at all the things you have that I don't. You can genuinely be happy. I love my sister's children. I love my sister's family. I love the fact that they've been married for 13 years. I love, 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 love that. And I'm so happy for my sister. And I'm also equally like completely okay with being a cat lady. Like I am not really a cat lady. I only have one, but a single bachelorette cat woman. Like I'm okay with that. Like I'm actually loving that. My life goal, actually, since I was a kid, was to have my own apartment with me and my cat and the good Lord. And I'm living that dream. And I think about it all the time. And my sister's living her dream, and I'm so happy for that. And if I wasn't very secure in my journey, then I would be very bitter and resentful over that beautiful family, and I would lose the joy of getting to be a sort of adjunct part of it, right? And so it's just getting secure and safe in yourself and really like grounded and rooted in you and what you're called to do will give you the ability to connect instead of compare. Because that's the goal. Connection is life energy, connecting in. Comparison is death energy. Like, could you imagine if the avocado said to the strawberry, like, I wish I was more like you? It's like an avocado can only be an avocado. It's not upset that it's not an avocado. You see? So let's get into admiration and reverence, right? This is where we want to go. This is the better place to go because you feel good about yourself and it's easy for you to feel good about someone else. So admiration comes from when we are inspired, right? We are inspired. And that can be by anything. Um, it can be nature, it can be photography, it can be talent, right? Someone else's ability. I admire Taylor Swift so much. I don't care if you like her or not, quite frankly. I admire her. What she's done is very difficult. So much of what she's done is very difficult. Very hard to be in the public eye for 25 plus years and stay relevant and stay current and stay humble and authentic and full of integrity. Very hard to do. Not a lot of people do it well. Right? So there's a lot of admiring there for me. Accomplishment, right? If I can admire someone something's accomplished, like my sister's family is an accomplishment. It's a hard thing to have like a family that is as perfect as my sister's family is, quite frankly. No, there's no such thing as a perfect family, but like just you just want to be there. It's so much love and laughter and joy and fun and security. And just it's such a fun environment to be in. That is an accomplishment. Having a safe, happy, healthy family home space I wish more people put that on their goals in life. I almost think there's nothing more important than a safe, happy, healthy home, quite frankly. And a lot of people don't have that, unfortunately. And it is a shame. And I think admiration when we're inspired by someone's character is so important. Character is just we're moving into a time and a space where people's character is going to be like the defining parameter of success, I think. Especially with AI coming in, like you're going to start seeing that people who just use AI for their marketing, coaching, practices, teaching is going to be like, what the hell is this? They're going to be devalued because they don't have character, they don't have authentic voice, they don't have the authenticity that is required to do the things that need to be done. And so admiration will inspire us to want to be better in some ways. In other ways, it's just we're gonna sit back and be like, wow, right? Like if I can admire like Chef Bobby Flay. It doesn't actually inspire me to want to be a better cook, quite frankly. But I'm impressed. There's a girl in my community who's like a prophetic artist, and I admire so greatly her ability, but it doesn't make me want to be a better artist. You know what I'm saying? But in other ways, like when I have admiration of other people in other ways, it does inspire me to want to do things. Like in the coaching communities that I am in, where the coaches are farther ahead than I am. They're doing things that I'm not, that I want to do. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Let me work to get to that level, right? And so it shows us we can be more. It shows us we can do more. It shows us if they can do it, I can do it. Why not? and they're killing it, and I can kill it too, right? You're just secure. And then when we go from, again, these things, some of these emotions have depth level, right? We're going to talk more about this as we move through this series, if you read through the book. But like, it's one thing to be sad. It's another to be despairing. It's another to be languishing. It's another to be in anguish. Like, uh, there's depth levels of things. Reverence and admiration is that, right? You have admiration, and then when you feel it more deeply, and there's more meaningful connection, and there's something greater than yourself a lot of the time. You get this feeling that has to do with deep love, deep respect, and it just makes you feel grateful and humble, not really small. Just gonna close that window down. It's been cloudy here all day, but naturally when I record this, it decides it wants to be sunny right in my window. That's okay. Anyway, so deep form of admiration. Um, if you are a Christian, fear and reverence of the Lord. When it says fear in the Bible, it means fear or awe, fear or reverence. It's kind of like when you go to the beach at night, maybe this happens to me, where it's such a deep form of admiration for the works of the world and the creator who created it. If you go to like something that is just so expansive, you're like, whoa. The other day I was watching a TikTok and it was whales breaking the surface of the ice. And I was like, oh my God, like, wow, really, wow. It doesn't make me feel less than. It makes me so deeply humble and grateful. And so it gets easy when you know yourself to focus on the things that are impressive in other people without feeling some type of way about ourselves. We can be very, inspired without feeling like less than for not having done something similar. Right? So we want to go to connection instead of comparison, and we want to go to admiration or reverence instead of jealousy and envy. Okay? So they're not the same. According to the research, according to Dr. Brene Brown and her team, they are not the same. Jealousy and envy are often interrelated, but envy comes when we want what another person has. Often me plus one other person plus their thing, right? So, or their relationship or their house. Like you are envious of the fact that you have what I want. Now, again, if you wanted to do connection and admiration, it's like, oh my God, I love your house. I'm so excited to try to get one. Can you help me? Not, I love that house. I'm mad I don't have it. Why do they have it when I don't? They don't deserve it and I do. Like there's so much ugliness in envy, quite frankly. And usually the research shows, and again, this is not my research, this is not even Dr. Brene Brown's research, it's other people's research. That's the thing about being academic. You are often quoting research like 97% of the time that is not yours, but it adds to your research. Side note, real quick, side quest, if you know anything about academics, papers, etc., if you know anything about Bitcoin, the way that writing a paper works kind of is like building a blockchain. You're taking all this information that already exists and making a new thing. It's a really cool process, quite frankly. And so what ends up happening is this really collaborative experience where I'm looking at the research that exists and using it and formulating new theories, right? So she quotes in this envy part, a 2015 study that finds 90% of recalled episodes of envy fall into three categories. And I listed them for you here. Attraction is the first, competence is the second, and wealth is the third, right? And so physical attractiveness, romantic attraction, social popularity is attraction. Intelligence, knowledge is competence, and financial status or lifestyle is wealth. And so a lot of the times, if you can use these sort of lower energy, lower emotions, to let you know what you're feeling. That's the emotional awareness component. And if you're like looking at someone, the example of the 5'11" blonde, right? If I was feeling envious of her, which would again make no sense, quite frankly, because I'm never going to be a 5'11" blonde, okay? But I mean, I guess I could dye my hair, but I'm not doing that, right? I would potentially want what she has, right? Like I would want that height maybe, or that blondness perhaps. And so I would be envious, and then I would perhaps feel some type of way about it, dye my hair, dislike her, right? Like it's just it is just such a I don't want to say it's a wasted emotion, but there's like a good reason why the Bible says like don't covet, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. It doesn't serve you at all. What you can do is be like use it as like something that you're interested in. It's like, "Oh, you know what? I really love that they have this house. I want this house too, or I want a house like this too." Right? It's not like you have it, give it to me. It's you have it, I want something like that too. How can I get it? Right? That's the self-empowerment. That's the betterment component of things. It'll teach you about what you want to work toward. Or emotional awareness will teach you about what needs to heal. So if I'm jealous of the 5'11" girl, then there's an insecurity about my height. Where'd that come from? Right? And or if I'm jealous of the 5'11" girl, there's or the blondness of her, I there's an insecurity about my brunetteness. Why'd that come from? Right. And then it's like, oh, well, maybe I had a boyfriend who cheated on me with a blonde, or maybe I had a parent who was upset that I was short, or, it shows things about you. So everything that you think and feel can teach you more about you if you will just let it. And you will just get self and emotionally introspective and aware. Right. So envy is between two people usually. And actually, it doesn't always come with hostility, right? Like it can sometimes, but it doesn't have to. You could just use it as a tool. Jealousy has to do often with three people, and it has to do with the fear of losing something that you already have. So, like say, me and my boyfriend are dating, and there's the 5'11" blonde girl. Now there's three, and he finds tall blondes more attractive. I might fear losing him to her. Now, again, when you're authentic and secure, you don't fear losing anybody. You're like, hey, guy, I want you to be happy. You want this girl, I want you to have her. Because if it ain't you, it's someone better. Because if you're attracted to her, you ain't really attracted to me. That's fine. Get to popping off, right? But that again requires security and authenticity, which most people don't have. Mostly they're insecure. And so if their boyfriend is lusting after someone that doesn't look like them, or their girlfriend, right? I'm a female, so I'm using that. But if you are a guy and you have a girl and she's looking at dudes that don't look like you, and you're feeling some type of way about it, what the insecure person does is they get jealous. They get scared. They feel like there's something wrong with them. They're afraid to lose something they already have. Right. And so the thing about jealousy is it's actually a thought, right? We think jealousy in response to how we feel, according to the research. And so it's a I'm going to just read this out because I don't have it here. So, jealousy doesn't seem to be a singular emotion, but rather a cognitive evaluation in response to feeling anger, sadness, and or fear. In other words, we think jealousy in response to how we feel. And I actually really love, and you guys can judge this if you want to, um, the book Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer is Edward the vampire's perspective of Twilight. And in it, you get this really cool point where he says, I had such a feeling of intense rage and or what do you say? I have such a tangle of rage and sadness and hurt and whatever, and I didn't know what the emotion was. And then I felt the jealousy in someone's thoughts, and it put a name to what I was feeling. I was jealous, right? And it is that. It's such a cool thing that well, I don't know, maybe not cool, but it's an involved thing, a multifaceted thing to feel the feelings that think the jealousy, right? And so when you have the fear, anger, sadness, that takes a lot of emotional awareness to be like, I'm scared to lose them, right? I'm fearful to lose them. I'm sad that they feel this way about this person, maybe not about me. I'm angry. I can't control how they're feeling, right? Like there's a real triangulation that comes with jealousy. And so when it comes down to it, I think it's so important, and this has really served me, guys, so well in my life. This is why I care a lot about good steward leadership. Stewardship meaning you're managing something for someone else. This is why I think Christianity is such an important thing. Because when you have a kid, when you have a spouse, when you have a friend, when you have anything in this life, if that thing does not belong to you. A person does not belong to you. Okay, this is not slavery. All right, this is connection. They're with you. You're stewarding them to the greater king, to the greater purpose, right? And so I think about this a lot. I really do. I have always thought about things like this, quite frankly. I want to steward this relationship as well as I can that reflects the kingdom. Do I do it right all the time? Absolutely not. Okay, I'm only human. But I will say that, like, in my example of the boyfriend that was attracted to the 5'11" blonde, I really do know that that boyfriend or that man or that husband or that spouse or that person does not belong to me. They belong to the Lord. They don't even belong to themselves. I don't even belong to myself. Ezekiel 18:4, all souls belong to God. And so I am a steward of this person. And so for me, always, it gets very easy to be like, there by the grace of God go I. If you want someone or something else that feels good for you, honey, go get it. And I want that for you. Because if it's not me, then there's a good reason for that. And that means something that is for me is on the horizon and it's not you. So when you get better at realizing I don't own anything in this life, I don't own anything, not truly, and that feels good and not scary, you can come out of these places of comparison that are so negative. You're not jealous. What are you jealous of? Well, literally, what? And so if you really getting self and emotionally aware strengthens your self-concept, your self-image. And so you're not coveting and you're not fearful of all the things. I'm not saying you'll never feel emotions again. I'm saying they will not be leading your life, quite frankly. And so again, like I said before, I don't know if you remember, the bullet points over here are my sort of solutions for these things and not Dr. Brene Brown. So me telling you get self and emotionally aware and remember you don't have or own anything in this life is literally how I have found and I coach and I teach to help people move through the difficulties of life more effectively. It has worked for me greatly. I've survived a lot of loss. And that's okay because I never owned it. It was never mine anyway. Here for a reason, here for a season, a lot of things. So that when we compare, I'm just going to back up quickly. When we compare, we can a lot of times either go to admiration, reverence, or envy and jealousy. Now, when we go to envy and jealousy, what will happen a lot is we come into resentment because resentment is a part of envy. And when you feel a lot of envy and it sits and it represses and it lingers, you can come into resentment, right? And resentment is a feeling of frustration and judgment and anger in comparison to what someone else has, right? So she does a great job kind of talking about this, which is I'm not mad because you're resting. I'm mad because I'm bone tired and I want to rest. But unlike you, I'm going to pretend that I don't need to, right? It's getting mad and upset and frustrated because they gave themselves permission to do the thing that you're not allowing yourself permission to do, right? So let me just keep going. I'm not furious that you're okay with something that's really good. I'm furious because I want to be okay with something that's really good, right? And I'm not letting myself. Um, you've probably seen this in maybe your own house when you are running around doing all these things and like your spouse is just like sitting napping on the couch. You're in resentment because you're mad, frustrated, and upset at the fact that he or she can do it and you feel like you can't. That's what resentment is. And it is really, we break our own hearts. I want you to understand this about resentment. If you're in resentment, you're doing it to yourself. Why? Because it's an emotion that is experienced when we fail to set a boundary and we fail to ask for what we need, or when we set expectations that let us down. Expectations almost always let us down. And you can stop this by stepping into your authority, pulling your power back, and being objective and realistic. Right? You can do this by learning how to set boundaries, how to enforce boundaries, how to speak what you need, how to get comfortable speaking in your authentic self, in your authentic voice. Like ask for what you need. Let your yes be yes, let your no be no. Right? Like this is a skill. What I'm saying here is a skill that people need to learn. When you've been people pleasing, in rejection, minimized, diminished, your voice has been small your whole life, you're probably in a lot of resentment. And not surprisingly, right? Because it's like there's a set of rules that they get that you don't apply to yourself. And it feels unfair and not just, right? And again, all the things are counteracted by being authentic and true to yourself and knowing what it is that you need in any given moment, quite frankly. And that takes self-awareness, it takes emotional regulation, it takes the work, right? And like I say all the time, it does take work to come home to yourself and unlearn all the crap of a false identity. Because most people are functioning out of false identities. And they really are. I would say 97% of people. And if you're in resentment, that's almost a telltale sign that you're in an inauthentic spot. And like I said, um, the only person that can do the work is you. Authentic work has to be done by you. So if you've never done authenticity work, you need to do it. And again, I've got guidebooks on Amazon. We've got the Empower Path community. I've got courses on Udemy. Like I've got the authentic identity mentorship. Like you name it. I would love to help you come into your authentic self. It is a skill that not many people have. Like authentic life coaching, authentic leadership life coaching. It's hard to do for a lot of people because it requires them to be deeply authentic. Because when someone is deeply themselves is the only time they can be safe to let someone else be deeply themselves. And so, yeah, it's so necessary. And so if you're in a lot of resentment, it's actually a part of envy. And our final, yes, these are our final. Schadenfreude and Freudenfreud. Oh, you know what? Let me go back because I forgot a point, guys. This is super important. Because I didn't say this. If you're tempted to be mean and critical, you are likely in resentment. If you have a critical inner voice, it is either you have internalized it from someone, maybe a parent, maybe a teacher, maybe an ex, or you are in resentment, right? The critical voice, you can never do anything right. Why are you so stupid? Why are you so fat? Why are you so dumb? Why are you so this, that? You're too much. I I'm too emotional, I'm too sensitive, I'm too loud, I'm too quiet. That's all critical. That's all critical spirit. That's all death energy stuff. That's critical spirit stuff. Okay. So just get aware because it's awareness is the key to a lot of things, quite frankly. Now we will go to Schadenfreude and Freudenfreud. A lot of fun. Okay. These are fun words. They're German words, not surprisingly. Schaden meaning harm and Freud meaning joy. It's really Schadenfreude. 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 And what it is pleasure or joy derived from someone else's suffering or misfortune, right? So the harm, the Schaden, the shade, if you will, the throwing the shade, right? Um, is your response to the Freude, the joy, someone else's experience that you're deriving pleasure from, right? And so it's a counter empathetic thing. When I see someone get a divorce and I'm happy about it, Schadenfreude. It's comparison, right? Because it's like, oh, well, I got a divorce, so I'm glad she got a divorce. It's really bitter. I mean, it's really an ugly thing, Schadenfreude, because it's like you're rejoicing in their misery because you're miserable too. All right. And so it's where the emotional reaction, I'm happy, is incongruent with the sad thing they're going through. And what ends up, no one's shocked here, it is positively correlated with envy, aggression, narcissism, and anger. Of course it is. Misery loves company. And so when you feel happy at someone else's unfortunate circumstance, that says a lot about you and not a lot of good. It means that you feel super like rejected, poorly treated, lacking, insecure, like you're missing things. You're missing things. And when that person had the thing and they lost the thing, you're happy because it makes you feel better about yourself for, missing the thing. Instead of just doing the self work and being that the better thing that you want, um, it's not very different than like if a mother loses a child, right? And her best friend has a child. She's super envious or jealous rather. She's jealous that her friend still has a child when she doesn't, and then that child dies, and she's happy that the child died. Comparison is a really tough thing. And Schadenfreude is a really ugly thing. And it does. It has a lot of shame around it. When you are kind of looking at the research, a lot of people don't talk about the Schadenfreude because there's a shameful element to it. We don't want to admit that we're happy that someone else is miserable, even though we are, because we know it's the wrong thing, but we feel it anyway. And so, one of the things that needs to happen when you're in like a therapy or coaching space is that that person, that therapist or coach needs to make it okay for you to feel Schadenfreude and work on it with you to deepen about like, okay, well, what is it that you feel you're lacking that you're happy that that person now lacks it? And so, of course, um, it is not surprisingly negatively correlated with empathy and conscientiousness. Of course, it is. Right. To the opposite, though, is Freudenfreud, right? Freudenfreud is an enjoyment of another person's success. Like I said, you want to use these places for connection, right? In the case of the child that died, right? The mother that lost a child, instead of being happy that her friend's child died, she wants to connect and say, I'm so sorry. I know how this feels. We can be in misery together. Connection, right? But in the case of like good things that happen, you can have Freudenfreud, which is joy or excitement in another person's success, right? And so I love this that Brene Brown says to her own children is good friends aren't afraid of your light. They're not trying to throw mud at it. They're not trying to blow it out. They're not trying to diminish it. They're trying to let you glow and shine and know it doesn't take away from their glow and shine, right? Like I say this all the time. There's enough room at the table for everybody. And so when you really embrace your authentic identity, it doesn't even matter if someone else is doing the exact same thing you are. It doesn't even matter because there's not another me. So I'm cool. If there's another, like, because I'm always helping people come into their authentic calls and their authentic selves. And so if someone is a teacher, someone's called to teach the Bible or authenticity coach or whatever, that's great. That just means that they can attract some people, an audience that I cannot. Because my voice isn't for everybody, and that's awesome. And their voice will cover some of the people I don't talk to, maybe, right? Like it's so easy when you're authentically secure in yourself that you can just intentionally share in the joy of other people's success or, connect in the despairs of life and just commiserate with them and not feel happy about the fact that they're miserable. And that's a skill too. You can be happy for someone else even when you're sad for yourself. So often, like when women are like unmarried or having infertility or whatever the case, their friend will announce, "Oh, I'm getting married," or "Oh, I'm having a baby." And instead of just being happy for them, they focus so much on the sadness of themselves. And you can hold those two at the same time. You can be genuinely so happy for them and also so sad that it hasn't happened for you yet. That's the goal, is to expand your capacity so you can hold those two very difficult, heavy emotions, quite frankly. Right? And so one of the ways to grow your Freudenfreud is when your friend or family or loved one or spouse or whomever tells you like a good thing that's going on in their life, you just show interest and you just ask follow-up questions. You just want to know more, genuinely curious, right? You don't try to diminish it. We'll talk about this later on, but so often when someone shares something, people don't know how to react. It's a very odd thing. And um it's a skill to react more effectively, but that skill gets cultivated when you get authentic, you expand your capacity, you get self and emotionally aware and regulated. Then it gets easier, right? It's not their news or my feelings. It's both their news and what it's triggering in me, and I can hold all of that, right? So it is not the best thing to compare. And I like what she says here. I think it's so important. Nothing that celebrates the humiliation or pain of another person builds lasting connection. True. True. So if you are someone that likes to exploit other people or manipulate or humiliate or make pains for someone else, don't be shocked when you don't have a lot of deep connection in your life. Don't be shocked if you're jumping from person to person. Don't be shocked if there's always someone falling in or out of your life. Makes sense, quite frankly. Right? So comparison is often the thief of joy. Comparison can be used to help you figure out what you got going on in here, can be used to shift to connection. But ultimately, it takes work because comparison, like I said at the beginning, is something we all do. And so we want to just get aware of when and where we're comparing. Their car's nicer than mine, their spouse is hotter than mine, their house is bigger than mine, their kids are cuter than mine, they make more money than me, is like, okay. And what does that have to do with the price of tea in China, quite frankly, right? Just use those moments, get aware of those moments. And when you do, you can say, oh, okay, what is this saying about me now? Right? Get self-reflective. And again, if you don't have that skill, because that's self-reflection, question asking is a skill to cultivate. Um, you know, that's part of the work I'm always around to help with. So I hope you're enjoying this series, Atlas of the Heart. We have quite a ways to go in it. I hope you're learning a lot. I hope it's helpful. Ultimately, this is just to help with emotional awareness. And I do think it's just so critical to really have this information, reflect on it, and see how you can grow and learn and develop and shift and change with it because of it, right? So if I can help you do that, just let me know. But other than that, I will see you all on the next video.